despite all that, I think Malaysia has done much better than most other countries, especially in the handling of the pandemic. For example, now people are able to move around, they are able to go to shops, they are able to walk around, excepting that they must follow certain SOP that the government has enunciated. So I think while the economy now is not doing well, but there is a good opportunity for us to recover much earlier than other people. But I believe that Malaysia's handling of the pandemic is much more effective than many countries. The last figure for new cases was only 7. It's a single digit. You know, at one time it was more than 100, but it's come down slowly. I think if we are careful, we can go to 0 new cases. And at that stage, I think people would be more convinced to come out and do their shopping and do their business. The industries will start all over again. Only problem, of course, all this must be subjected to the new SOP for running industries. So I believe that although the situation at this moment looks bleak, I think in the second half, I think we would be able to make good recovery. Well, there are 2 candidates, either me or Anwar. We have to decide on this, and I believe that within 1 week we would have decided one way or the other. Either it is Anwar or it is me, and we'll have to be together. Without being together, we will not have the kind of clout that we need in order to unseat the government. The government has got a very thin majority, actually about just 1 or 2. And that is why the Prime Minister is worried about his position. He's trying to buy over support from everybody. But some people are resisting. So he still is not clear about his majority. And on our part, we feel that given certain occurrences now, for example, like the treatment of the money laundering by Riza Aziz, and then the withdrawal of the charges, 46 charges against Musa Aman, this will affect the thinking of the people. And maybe we might be able to gain more support. We need to have at least 112, but we need more than that. 112 would be a majority, but we need to have a good majority. So we're working on that, and we feel that some people are willing to cross over. For example, one of the former ministers, a Minister of Education, he was offered a ministry, but he turned it down. He refused, although action has been taken to expel him from the party and try to appoint a new head for his division, but the new head has rejected the government offer. So the government is still not getting the kind of support they needed. Then there is one person who used to be secretary to Parti Bersatu. He has decided to resign from being the deputy minister. But he's still in the government. He's still sitting with the government, but he has resigned. The feeling now is that this government is not being fair. Lots of things were, wrong things were done. The Prime Minister seems to think that he can do anything he likes, whether it is provided in the rules or the constitution or the law. He just dismisses people, appoints people, offer jobs and things like that. So people are getting less supportive of the government. So we are in that position where we cannot claim that we can overthrow the government, but we are working very hard at it. Well, I heard about this backdoor government, and I didn't like it because we work with Pakatan Harapan, and the other parties help us to defeat Najib. As much as we help them, they also help us. On our own, Bersatu would never be able to defeat Najib. Also, the other three parties have tried, but never been able to defeat Najib. But when we combine our strengths, we were able to defeat Najib. And the purpose of setting up the party was to defeat Najib. But now my number two man decides to jettison Pakatan Harapan, the people who brought us into the government. How can we do that? And then he wants to work with the very people whom the public rejected. The public supported us because we were against Najib. Now he ignores what the intention, the reason why the public has supported us, and he is actually doing what the people did not like. They wanted Najib out, but now Najib is in. The losers have become the winners, and the winners have become the losers. And this is a very strange thing. But this is due to the decision of the president of my party to leave Pakatan Harapan. I could not bring myself to do that. You see, so on the other hand, if I don't support them, I might be accused of being supporting DAP, supporting the Chinese, not supporting the Malays and all that. So I was in a very, very difficult position, which is the reason why I decided to resign. Then I don't have to do anything. I resign, I'm not the president. Because if I stayed with the party, I have to follow the party. And the party says, you have to bring down Pakatan Harapan. But I don't want to do that. On the other hand, if I don't do that, then I'm going to be accused by this other group that I am not pro-Malay, I'm not very Islamic and all kinds, and I'm supporting DAP. And so both sides, both options were bad for me. So I decided that the best thing is I resign completely. After that, we go to Parliament. Parliament will decide who should be my successor.
I mean, in PPBM, the people that we talk to, from Muhyiddin's side, their main line, and you obviously must have heard it quite a lot, is that this crisis would not have happened if you did not resign.
No, it's before that. This crisis wouldn't happen if my own party makes a decision that is acceptable. I advise the party in the meeting, please don't make any decision yet. Let's give ourselves time. We will see what happens. They rejected me. They rejected me, and that means that I don't have the confidence of the party. If I don't have the confidence of the party, I cannot very well be the chairman of the party. So I had decided that I must resign. But if I resign as chairman, I have to resign also as prime minister, because I was prime minister on the basis of being chairman of this party in the government. But now this party gets out of the government, and that resulted in PH losing. They could not become the government. And it looks as if it is my doing that PH is no longer the government. It's not my doing. It's because I advised them against that, but the committee, the Supreme Council decided to leave PH. When you leave PH, PH collapsed. It's not because of me. If they had listened to me and said, let's think about it first, don't do anything, then we would still be with PH and the government will be still there. I don't have to resign. But I cannot also join the other party because if I join them, I will be going against my principle. I have always been against Najib. I cannot join Najib and bring him into the government. So I was in a quandary. I cannot this, I do this, I cannot do that. So the best thing is for me to resign.
And what do you think is going to happen in, in the next few weeks or few months? I mean, there's some talk that, if Muhyiddin figures out that he does not have a majority, he may find a way to postpone the July sitting. What is the likelihood of that happening, you think?
At some time, he must have a meeting. There is no way he can stop calling Parliament for a long, long time. So he knows, he is afraid that if Parliament meets, he may not have the majority. In fact, the last sitting of Parliament, he had only 2, more than us. So he feels very uncomfortable. As long as he can, he will not have a Parliament sitting because the vote of non-confidence is still there. I will have to take that opportunity to present my move against him. Because of that, he doesn't want to have Parliament meeting. But you cannot do away with Parliament. For example, he's creating new ministries. That has to go to Parliament to get approval and to get allocation of funds. If it doesn't go to Parliament, he will be doing things which are illegal. He's creating jobs that are not approved by government. But if he goes to Parliament and he asks for allocation of funds or approval of new appointees and all that, we will reject. And if we reject, he cannot go through. That means that he cannot function as a government. Anything that he brings before Parliament may not be passed by Parliament because of our stand. Of course, if we have the majority, but we can frustrate all his move until the government cannot function. At that stage, of course, he will have to accept that he is a government that is not able to function. So we have to find ways around that, maybe by changing the government.
And the prospect of elections, do you think that's a possibility?
Well, there is a possibility. There are some people who thought that, thinks that we will have an election to settle everything. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, an election is going to be difficult and very, very costly. So it's not a good answer unless, of course, the majority on is only very, very minimal, 1 or 2. Maybe at that stage, they may have to call for a general election. But the better way, of course, is to find out who gets the support of Parliament. The person with the majority support then becomes the Prime Minister. Well, one thing is certain, Najib is not going to work hard to make Muhyiddin the Prime Minister if he is going to go to jail. So he's not going to leave this man become Prime Minister and he goes to jail. He doesn't want to go to jail. But if he has a docile a Prime Minister that he can influence, he may escape from going to jail. Already you have seen what has happened with Riza Aziz. That was a decision out of the blue. We never thought about that, but he was practically found not guilty. If he gives back a small amount of the money he has stolen, this never happened. And then now we have Musa Aman. I mean, there are 46 charges against him. Lots of documents have been accumulated by the prosecutors and all that. But suddenly they say, oh, we don't have any documents. Hong Kong is having trouble and all that. And therefore we withdraw 46 charges. Never in the history of Malaysia has that ever been done. I think even in the world also, there cannot be 46 charges and the well, the culprit is set free. You see, so next thing we may see is that other people who committed crimes during the time of Najib, they may be uh, uh, let, set free for some reason or other. They will come up with all kinds of reasons, and eventually they will probably decide. In the case of Najib, he was a victim of a scam by Jolo. It's Jolo. It's not Najib. So we can find him not guilty. And then, of course, once he's not guilty, he will then be uh, eligible to contest and even become prime minister. At that stage, of course, I think he's not going to support Muhyiddin as prime minister. He's going to throw out Muhyiddin. He wants to become prime minister. And of course, all the crimes and all that, of all his supporters, people like Zaid Hamidi, like Aziz Rahim, all these people will now be happy because they are not going to be charged, because under the Muhyiddin government, he seems to be very willing to set them free. But people know that if I had continued as prime minister, no way they can get away with the kind of results from the courts. The courts will have to adhere to the rule of law, not come up with some funny explanation, because we find that before even reaches the court, the AG will withdraw, and of course, and the prosecutors should not withdraw, but the AG wanted to withdraw, which means that the defense will be very happy. You're going to free my client. This is the kind of rule of law we are seeing in this country today.
What is your sense of what Malaysians think about the 1MDB trial? I mean, you mentioned earlier that some people are trying to rationalize it and say that it's not, they didn't steal our money. If hypothetically more people get some kind of plea bargain or have their charges reduced, do you think there will be a public backlash?
There would be among the people who are more mature, more understanding of the rule of law and things like that. But there will be some fanatical supporters who would be very happy that the charges are not going through. For those people, they have never accepted that there was a case to answer. In fact, there were 50 cases to answer. And yet they are saying, no, this is the government trying to manipulate, to punish Najib. He is innocent. He didn't steal money. All kinds of excuses are being given. His fanatical supporters, and they are still there, will continue to support him. And he wants to rebuild the party and contest in the next election. And he believes that if we have an election now, he may win, because he has managed somehow or other to downplay the things that he did during his time, the money he had stolen and all that, and focusing on DAP, on Malay Muslim government and all that, to cover up the previous. Now, the emphasis, the talk now is not so much about what he did before. It is about his going to set up a Malay Muslim government. You see? If I don't support that, then this Malay Muslim, he doesn't support the Malay Muslim government. He wants to work with DAP. Then, I will be, hot soup, because I'm not being a good Malay, a good Muslim. So he has struck on a very good issue that will win the support of people who before were against him because of what he did. Why can't they just sit down and talk? I think China wants to talk, but Trump doesn't want to talk. This thing happens because the the president of the United States is very belligerent. You know, he rejects everything, including this uh, epidemic. At first, he said it is like flu. It's not flu. It's something else, more dangerous, can kill people. But even today, I read in the papers about this old man who was knocked down by the policeman. They say, oh, this was because this man was acting, not real. He didn't really fall down and all that, but he was trying to do something to the police. He was knocked down, and then he pretended that he couldn't. I mean, how can he say that? You must have clear evidence. Was he really acting, or is it true what happened? The whole press says it is true, but Trump will say, oh, this is just play acting. And the way he is campaigning and all that is, to me, not quite the proper way. You know, he sacks all his staff who are not against, not for him. It sounds like a third world country. You know, in Malaysia, probably we do that. We don't like a staff, we sack him. But this is America, the greatest democratic country in the world. Very, very liberal, very tolerant, and things like that. And he sacked so many of his staff. You see, so I can't blame China for what is happening today, the confrontation. But Trump wants to confront even with Europe. He doesn't tolerate anybody. I mean, he applies sanction against Iran at a time when Iran is struck by the pandemic. You cannot do. There is humanitarian consideration to think of. Shouldn't do that because in many cases, even if you find that the enemy is suffering from something, you don't take advantage of their suffering in order to push your threat further. But this is what Trump is doing. I think, I don't know whether he will be re-elected, but I hope that the Biden would be different from him. Even in the case of Floyd, the George Floyd, I mean, he threatens to use the army against people who were demonstrating. It's unheard of. I think I never thought he would win, but he won. But people are saying that there are lots of Americans who will support him. It will be a disaster, continuous from now on for the next 4 years when he becomes the president again. But I do hope that I told the Americans that I'm voting for Biden. Of course, I don't have a right to vote, but I think he sounds more reasonable.
Why do you say that?
Huh?
Why do you say that Biden is more reasonable or acceptable?
Well, he at least responded to this George Floyd thing in a very reasonable way. He had some members of Congress come together and support the black black
Lives Matter.
that I mean, he is supportive of the demonstration, but not Trump. Trump wants to use the army against them. So, I mean, China must verify first how serious is this new virus. Once they discover how serious it is, then they tell the world that this is what you should do. They have this first lockdown, people being confined. 11 million people in Wuhan were forced to stay in their home and not come out. It's something that is not possible to do in America. In America, they talk about freedom. You can't tell me not to come out of my house. That is my freedom. So I go out. You can't stop me from demonstrating. That's my freedom. It's already always about freedom. And that freedom has resulted in 1.7 million Americans being infected with the virus. And they have 100,000 over people dying because of the freedom. China, there is no freedom. In Malaysia, I think we are more law abiding. The government says, don't get out of the house, we don't get out of the house. You see, we don't have to be violent. But I noticed that when this thing became known, I read one of the back numbers of the uh, new scientist. He reports, this was way back about 5 months ago. I thought, oh, this is going to affect these poor countries and all that. They will suffer very much because they don't have the facilities that we have. But as you can see now, the poor countries seems to escape. It is the rich countries which are suffering more. The pandemic is now, the epicenter is in Europe and in South America. These are Europe's, not Europe, in America, where they are so very well equipped, but also very indisciplined. So from being indisciplined and not disciplined, they are suffering, they are paying the price. But
Please.
yeah, but the poor countries are trying to do their best. And countries like Malaysia, which is poor, but also we do have some facilities. And we have people who are very law-abiding. I think that's why we were able to reduce the effect of this pandemic. Yeah, when they introduce globalization, a world without borders, they thought only of how they can sell their goods to the whole world. But now they have realized that the world is actually one. In terms of disease, it is actually just one location. You cannot escape. You cannot say that, well, America has got these very deep moats on the east and the west, the Pacific Ocean, and the Atlantic. It's not free. It's no longer able to isolate itself, which is one of the America's old policies, isolation. Now, whether you like it or not, there is no way you can isolate yourself. You are part of one village. And with the ability of people to travel and travel very, very fast, anything that happens in one side of the world, of the globe, can reach you in the next 12 hours. That's how long it takes to travel halfway around the world. So you are no longer able of thinking yourself as being isolated. You will suffer the way other parts of the world suffer. So I think the idea of a global village should not only be in terms of your economic access, but also in terms of your need to look after the health of the whole world, not only your health.